Okay, you beautiful New Zealanders, good morning. We're going to continue with our study of the Treaty Principles Bill. That's David Seymour's bill that's about to be introduced to Parliament. I believe, like I've said, it's the most significant bill since 1840 to come through our Parliament and to enter the public domain for debate. So this is part 2, really following on from the last video. This is where we got to. David Seymour's Principles Bill brings us as a nation to a fork in the road in our history. There's the road, there's the bus called New Zealand. We can either make a left-hand turn or a right-hand turn. In my view, as I've said, it's the most significant bill to be debated by all New Zealanders since 1840. This bill is going to ask Kiwis whether they want to turn left or right at that fork in the road. It's hugely significant. So if we can take a left turn or we can take a right turn. If we take a left turn, we get tribal rule and we get tribal leaders ruling us. If we take a right turn, we get democracy and we have the rule of people through voting and a duly elected government. If we take a left turn, we get class, society, Maori and the rest. If we take a right turn, we get equality, all people being equal before the law. If we take a left turn, we get one law for Maori and another law for everyone else. If we take a right turn, we get one law for all. If we take a left turn, we get apartheid, separatism and racism. If we take a right turn, we get a colourblind society. Now at the moment, our country is already on the left-hand road, and if David's bill is defeated, if it is unsuccessful, then we'll just go a lot deeper into a left-hand turn and everything that's on that left-hand turn. But if it's successful, then this bus called New Zealand's going to take a sharp right and we're going to return to democracy, equality, one law for all and a colourblind society. So this is a hugely significant bill. And so here are two questions that I have, and they are, which of these two roads is mandated in the treaty? Given that our treaty is the founding document of our country, which one of these roads actually is mandated in the treaty? Which one of these two roads honors the treaty? You see a lot of signs up around the place with honor the treaty and so forth. Well, let's see which one of these roads actually does honor the treaty. To answer these questions, there is only one place to go, and where's that? Well, it's obviously to the treaty. So let's do that. The Treaty of Waitangi has 5 parts. It has a preamble, it has an Article 1, it has an Article 2, and it has an Article 3, and then it has what we call an affirmation. So we're going to study each one of these in turn, and that's going to be really helpful because I'm going to make it as simple as I possibly can. I'm going to make a video explaining each one of these 5 parts, so 5 videos in total. Today's video, video 1, is going to be an explanation of the preamble. At the end of this video series, we'll know whether the treaty mandates a left-hand turn or at the fork in the road or a right-hand turn. I guess you could say another name for this 5-part series could be the Treaty for Dummies, so let's crack into it. Here is the preamble. I'm going to read the whole thing all at once and then we're going to just dissect it one line at a time. So, Her Majesty Victoria, Queen of England, in her gracious consideration for the chiefs and the people of New Zealand, and her desire to preserve them their land and to maintain peace and order among them, has been pleased to appoint an officer to treat with them for the cession of the sovereignty of their country and of the islands adjacent to the Queen. Seeing that already many of her subjects have already settled in this country and are constantly arriving, and that it is desirable for their protection as well as the protection of the natives to establish a government among them, Her Majesty has accordingly been pleased to appoint me, William Hobson, a captain in the Royal Navy, to be governor of such parts of New Zealand as may now or hereafter be ceded to Her Majesty, and proposes to the chiefs of the Confederation of United Tribes of New Zealand and the other chiefs to agree to the following articles. That is the preamble. So now let's go through it one line at a time. Her Majesty Victoria, Queen of England, in her gracious consideration for the chiefs and people of New Zealand. What's she saying? Hobson is writing as the Governor of New Zealand, sent by the Queen of England on her behalf. There are 3 parties with an interest in this treaty: people of New Zealand, meaning non-Maori, the chiefs, meaning Maori, and the British government. It's pretty clear, isn't it? Whatever applies to Maori applies to the people of New Zealand. Whatever applies to the people of New Zealand applies to Maori. The next sentence: and her desire to preserve them their land and to maintain peace and order among them. What's she saying? The Queen is saying, we acknowledge that you guys, Maori, own New Zealand. We're not going to just come in and take your land. Relax. In 1831, Maori chiefs had written to King William inviting the British to come and set up government in New Zealand. Come and be our friend and guardian were the actual words in that letter. In other words, come and install British government here. There were 4 main reasons Maori wanted Britain to take control of New Zealand. These are not the only reasons, but these were the main ones. Number 1, the Maori tribes could not stop fighting each other. They were drunk with war. Between 1800 and 1840, the Maori population reduced from 150,000 to 75,000. This was Maori killing Maori in the Musket Wars. Secondly, There was no government and no laws in New Zealand except tikanga, which is Maori law, L-O-R-E. Maori law had two standout features, utu, which is revenge, and muru, which is plunder. So tikanga had failed them. Maori was self-annihilating, that's the truth of the matter. Add to this cannibalism and slavery, and it was obvious primitive Maori society had collapsed. Third, Maori were in mortal fear of the French. In 1772, Maori had clashed with the French and 250 Maori had been killed. In 1840, the French were still a large and looming threat from which Maori wanted protection. And fourth, there was trade. Maori were keen to trade, start earning money, and transition from absolute poverty into prosperity. The chiefs were not stupid. The chiefs could see that aligning with Britain was the fast track to that end. And that's what happened. Now, I just want to mention something here. I'm constantly amazed how many so-called, quote, Maori academics, unquote, and activists use the line, why would Maori have given away their whole country to a tiny group of people who they'd only just met and who did not know their language? It would just not make sense, they say. It's completely illogical. This line is used often by activists and so-called Maori academics. What they say is a mixture of pure spin, lies, and ignorance. Why are these arguments just lies and spin? The people who say such things are just trying to fool the average Kiwi. Why ignorance? Well, they show that they know absolutely nothing about the historical circumstances which made Maori keen and eager to cede sovereignty. I have only mentioned 4 drivers for Maori in 1840. The following is an example of a so-called Maori academic who engaged in spin and lies and demonstrating shocking ignorance of our history. Watch this.
So in some circles in this country, there's many believe that Queen Victoria was offered sovereignty over an entire civilization. Is this realistic?
No. And for this one, it's totally, that assumption is totally unrealistic, illogical, and it just simply didn't happen. And the reason is really quite simple. All you have to do is just step yourself back into the reality of 1840. You had in this country, demographers will say that you had between 70 and 90,000 people here. They were just counting who was along the coastline. I would say that there were several 100,000 of us here in 1840. And then in the north mainly, but some in Waikato as well, you had a handful, less than 2,000 Pākehā. So I'm not quite sure what logic you would employ to think that those several 100,000 Māori who were in complete control of every corner of this country would suddenly decide that because a handful of those 2,000 who had come here were misbehaving, that therefore we would give our power and our authority, our mana, to them or to their rangatira. Human beings don't do that. You don't give away your existence, the whole world in which you operate, the legal system under which you operate. You do not give it away to somebody who you've never met, who lives on the other side of the world and knows absolutely nothing about you and doesn't even speak your language. So there's that. And in terms of being totally outnumbered, why on earth do you think people would even contemplate, those handful of badly behaved ones, maybe a couple of hundred or so, living up in Kororareka, Russell, misbehaving, and therefore you give them and their boss complete control over your country? It just defies logic. It flies in the face of human nature completely. And the claim, when you look at that claim, you just think to yourself, come on, it just doesn't make any sense.
Next sentence. And her desire to preserve them their land and to maintain peace and order among them. What's this saying? The Queen is saying, you've told us that you want us to bring peace and order to these troubled islands. By 1840, some of the settlers had also become a problem. That is, runaway convicts and seamen who jumped ship, so Maori wanted protection from them too. It would be fair to say that in 1840 Maori were pleading with the British to protect Maori from Maori and protect Maori from unruly settlers. It would be true to say also that good settlers wanted protection from bad Maori. In the description of this video there is a document which lists the cases of Maori butchering settlers. The next sentence, seeing that already many of Her Majesty's subjects have already settled in the country and are constantly arriving, and that that it is desirable for their protection as well as the protection of the natives to establish a government among them. The Queen is saying, paraphrase, if you want protection from each other, Maori to be protected from Maori, and you want protection from the unruly settlers, then we have to install a government in New Zealand. This form of government would be that which had been tried and tested in Britain for 800 years, namely democracy. Britain was going to bring to this country and install democracy in this country. The three standout features of democracy were and are one person, one vote, all votes of equal value. Through voting, the people of a country gave the elected MPs the right to govern them. Those are the three standout features of a democracy. The next sentence, Her Majesty has accordingly been pleased to appoint me, William Hobson, a captain in the Royal Navy, to be governor of such parts of New Zealand as may now or hereafter be ceded to Her Majesty. What's this saying? Hobson is saying, quote, paraphrase, I am the guy, William Hobson, the Queen has chosen to travel all the way from England to New Zealand to do what? To protect you, that's Maori, from each other, to protect Maori from unruly settlers, to install a democracy in New Zealand, to set up a government. That means to build roads, bridges, ports, infrastructure, set up schools, hospitals, a judicial system, and a whole lot more. Everything pretty much you see today in this country. But in order to do all this for you, we need your permission, i.e. to sign this treaty. That's what it was saying. Without your permission, we will just pull up stumps and go home. That means we'll just pack up and go home. Hence, we are inviting you to cede sovereignty. That's what the treaty was about. See, the crucial thing about this treaty, if Maori had not ceded sovereignty, the British would have packed up and gone home. The fact that they stayed is absolutely telling. The next sentence, and proposes to the chiefs of the Confederation of United Tribes of New Zealand and the other chiefs to agree to the following articles. The Queen is saying, I'm going to put a proposal to you, i.e. a treaty, which I'm asking you to agree to. This proposal has 3 parts or articles, so here they are. Hobson then read the treaty to the Maori chiefs. The reading in English was translated into Maori by missionary Henry Williams. It was important that the chiefs heard the treaty in both English and Maori. Why? Many chiefs could speak English fluently, so when they heard the treaty in English translated into Maori, they could check the translation. There were no complaints. So let's go right back to the beginning. We had our 2 questions. Which one of these 2 roads is mandated in the treaty? Which one of these 2 roads honors the treaty? Well, after examining the preamble of the treaty, we could say that we have a left-hand turn and a right-hand turn, and we get tribal rule. There's nothing about tribal rule in the preamble, but there is everything about democracy and the rule of the people, so that gets a tick. There is nothing about class society, Maori and the rest, but there is about equality and all people are equal. If democracy was installed here, then you automatically get equality with democracy, so that gets a tick. There is nothing in the preamble about one law for Maori and another law for everybody else, but there is about one law for all. Again, if you install democracy, you get one law for all. There is nothing in the preamble about apartheid, separatism and racism. These things were abhorrent to the British. They just abolished slavery, so there's nothing in the treaty about those 3. But there is about a colourblind society. Again, because democracy is installed, you get a colourblind society. Of great importance is the fact that there was nothing in the preamble about partnership. So what's the conclusion? After studying the preamble of the treaty, it is clear that David Seymour's Treaty Principles Bill is mandated in this treaty. In the next video in the series, video 2, we will critique Article 1 of the treaty. See you then. Okay guys, just before we go today, I'll give you a quick update on what's happening with our business card strategy, getting cards out all over the country. We've had a phenomenal response. The bottom of the South Island is going gangbusters, particularly Gore. There's 3 people in Gore, that little town, that have picked up the baton and are running with it. And there's all the other places all over New Zealand that have picked all this up. It's really, it's so exciting because we're actually making an impact. So let's just keep moving forwards. 80,000 cards have gone out so far, which is really, really exciting. 45 people out delivering. You guys are just phenomenal the way you've picked this up. Our goal, let's just be clear again, we want 2,000 people out there distributing. There is no limit to the number of people in each town or suburb who can do this. So if you have 5 or 10 people in one suburb or one small town, that's totally fine. If people get a card 2 or more times, they will say, these guys are serious, I better check this out. So it's all going to be good for us if they get multiple cards. Please go to the description of this video and click on the link, list of small towns in New Zealand, and see which one is closest to you. Make that your patch, your responsibility. Take on a little town and make it yours, or a coastal community or whatever you're in. See yourself as a soldier, just like our soldiers in World War I or World War II. You know what, these soldiers went out and they fought for democracy. They fought for one person, one vote. They fought for equality. They were fighting against apartheid and racism. So we're picking up where those guys left off. You're fighting for your country. You're fighting for your kids and your grandkids. So it's time to put away all our excuses. Time for action. Don't delay. Pick up the phone now. There's Vicky, our beautiful Vicky. Call Vicky on 021 029 85419 and you can order directly from her. These little business cards that we have are only 3 cents plus courier each. So grab yourself some cards and do it right now. Don't delay. Get out there and let's turn this country around. Let's bring back democracy. Let's bring back one person, one vote. Let's bring back all votes of equal value, and let's get this country back on track. Thank you so much. See you tomorrow. Please share this video with everyone everywhere. The mainstream media should be reporting on the issues I am raising in these videos, but they're not. Why aren't they? Well, they're corrupt. Why are they corrupt? They are collaborating with Maori activists. There's no doubt about that. In the final analysis, the people of New Zealand, that's us, have ultimate power, not the politicians. Did you know that? The people can kick out the people in power and they can put them into power. How are we going to do that? Well, awareness is the key to change. If enough people in New Zealand become aware of the issues I am raising, we can save this beautiful country. So share these videos everywhere so that come the next election, we can vote the right people in and kick out the people who are destroying New Zealand.